Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday. I almost said Monday. It has been an amazing couple of days. I took off to go to a fundraiser on Thursday, which happened to be my birthday, which was pretty exciting. I got to go down there and see a lot of people and meet a lot of people. Then I drove to Southern California because I was privileged to be able to serve banning, excuse me, my voice is not working right, is it? Banning USDA, I can't even say that. Good night. We should start over. Banning unified school districts, classified staff. What an amazing group of people that was to be able to serve. It was incredible to be there with them and be able to just have a conversation with them, to work with them and serve them. And then I hung out in Southern California on Saturday and Sunday because I was with East Whittier on Monday. And Saturday, I got to go see Paul Rodriguez, the stand-up comedian, and fun times. I'm telling you, if you like stand-up comedy, you want to go do that. You want to go do that. And I found out that in Ontario, at Ontario Mills Improv, a fellow by the name of Craig Schumacher, some people might say, is coming up, and he's going to be a lot of fun. Tonight, we conclude our 6 weeks. We've been here 6 weeks, and we've been talking about how to listen our way to fulfillment. Now, just by way of rehearsal, in case some of you are here for the first time, I want to be able to say to each of you where we've been, in case you're here maybe for the first time, is this, that what we've originally was going after was the difference between seeking success and happiness and really truly turning the corner and beginning to be at a place where you were actually looking for fulfillment. Because here's what I am convinced of, Sherry, is this, that when we seek fulfillment, happiness and success have a way of chasing us down and seizing us is what they do. They actually come after us, and success and happiness seizes us, tackles us as if we were a running back and with a football and they came after us to come and get us. Yet, if we go after happiness and we go after success, it has a way of just escaping our grasp. Every one of us have probably experienced that. If you're here tonight and you can relate to what I just said, that you have sought success, you have sought happiness, and it seemed like it was just within your fingertips. Boom, it disappeared. It was gone. It moved away from you. That's because I think it's attracted to fulfillment. I think success and happiness is literally attracted to fulfillment. And so our principal aim in life ought to be seeking fulfillment, which means we have to dig deep inside of ourselves and ask ourselves what truly fulfills us. Now, before we get into tonight's training, tonight's development series, I want you to know something. There's a couple of things that will hinder us from ever getting to the point where we could be transparent enough to really seek and know what fulfillment is and what being fulfilled is all about. So we're going to cover a little bit of that. And no doubt, you've made some dumb decisions. I've made some dumb decisions. No doubt, there's some things in our lives that we goofed up so bad that it blew up in our faces. It set us back for a while. Let me tell you something. If you do this test, I can show you that you can have fulfillment. So, are you here with me? If you're here with me, give me a thumbs up. Give me that blue thumbs up. Let me know that you're actually paying attention. I want you all to say hello to a hero of mine making great strides in her own fulfillment and that's Chef Betty Crocker. Amazing person. Okay, every one of you gave me a thumbs up. Here's the test. Here's the test. Put your fingers right here. Put your fingers right here. If you feel movement in that little, what we call the carotid artery, you feel it pulsing, okay? That's the first of this 3-part test to see if fulfillment can be yours, okay? Here we go. Now, take your fingers and put them right here, right in the center of your wrist, and just wait just a minute, all right? If you feel it beating there, now you advance to the 3rd level. Now take those same 2 fingers and put them underneath your nose and just concentrate for a minute. Do you feel air coming down on them? If all 3 of those happened, if you felt a pulse here, you felt the pulse here, and you felt air there, no matter what has happened in your past, no matter what has happened, no matter what dumb things you chose to do, no matter what foolish mistakes you made, fulfillment is still apprehensible. It is still yours. It is still something that you can grab a hold of and have. Now, if you find fulfillment, guess what happens? When you find fulfillment, happiness can be yours and success. Yes, it can. All you've got to do is have a pulse and be able to breathe and have a want to, right? So how do we listen our way to fulfillment? The first thing is we've got to learn how to log out of all the other conversations that we've ever had prior to being able to log into this one. Second, we've got to invest in the one that we're listening to as though they have a treasure for us, as though they have this treasure chest of rubies and jewels and gold and silver and bronze and all the things that we really want. We got to act like a pirate, aye, matey, and go after the treasure chest. And doing that means you invest by listening to the one speaking. And then serve them, Linda. I'm so glad you're here. And Miss Mangie's here too. Serve them with your eyes and your ears by being focused. That means for Matt, when I listen to somebody, I need to sit up front. When I'm at the pizza parlor, I have to look around and see where all the activity is and then put my back to all that activity so that I can look at you. When I'm at conference in Ontario in November, every time I talk with you, I will position myself to where you're looking at the activity and I'm looking at you. That's the only way that I can serve you with a total 100% presence of myself. And then as we have the conversation, and if you're a public speaker, you remember, we said weeks ago that when you get up there in front of people as a public speaker, rather than telling them something, figure out how to have a conversation. Figure out how to have a conversation. And the way to do that is to speak a little bit about you, let them talk more about themselves, and then maneuver the conversation up to us, where you can talk about us. How are we going to get this done? What are we going to do to make everything happen, Teresa? And as we do that, you will find great success in that. You got to speak more about us than me or you. And then last week, we talked about engaging in what I call thought-filled questions, so that those people that we're having conversations with have to think through an answer and answer in sentences or paragraphs, and then dig deep. When they give you an answer, dig deep. Say something like, so is this what you said? No, this is what I said. Dig deep. You'll learn a lot. Tonight, we're going to spend just a few minutes talking about the sixth step, the sixth stool to listen our way to fulfillment. And the sixth tool to listen our way to fulfillment is simply this: negotiate the possibilities rather than the problems, the pressures, and the pesky people. Because listen to me, all three of those will always be here. And if you're negotiating pesky people, if you're negotiating problems, if you're negotiating pressures, you'll always be negotiating. There'll never be a win. There'll never be the arrival at the top of the mountain to be able to look at Mount Rubidoux and look at all the 360 and see it all the way around. If you're always negotiating your breathing, always negotiating the cramp in your right calf, if you're always negotiating the problems and the pressures and the pesky people, you'll never make it to the top. You will never make it to the top. So at some point, what we've got to do, Kathy, what we've got to do, Kim, is we've got to begin to negotiate possibilities rather than problems, pressures, and pesky people. Now, we know what problems are. We know what pressure is. Let me describe to you the 5 characteristics of all pesky people. Because this is what I think. I think the kind of people that are here tonight, the kind of people that are in this room with us tonight, that are sitting there, you drinking your coffee, you over there drinking your tea, you sitting there in that recliner with your feet up and the TV down a little bit, and with that Coke sitting there in your cup holder and your dog in your lap, okay? We know what problems are. We know what pressure is. But what is a pesky person? Let me describe the 5 characteristics of every pesky person I have ever met. Number 1, they're power shifters. They walk into a room and it's almost like you have a brownout. It's almost like the electricity goes, and it just does that. Okay? It just does that. You know what I'm talking about. You're standing around. You're an LG. You're serving in your school restaurant. And somebody that comes in and they walk in and it feels like the energy just left the room. It does. They do that, don't they? Pesky people are like that. They just drain the power. Okay? Now, let me tell you a second characteristic of every pesky person I have ever met. They are exhausting. Engaging with them is exhausting. I'm telling you, you can spend time with some people and you feel like the energy went up in the room. You get around a pesky person, it dims out, it gets kind of strenuous. You want to get out of there. It feels like the air got stale. It feels like things changed, and they're exhausting to be around. Nobody ever said, "Oh my goodness," and named a pesky person's name and said, "I want to spend more time with them. Oh my goodness, if I could just spend more time with them." You and I want to be the kind of people that other people want to spend more time with, okay? And that's exactly the opposite of a pesky person. So characteristic number 1, they're just power shifters. They shift the power from wherever it is to whatever they're on, okay? They're exhausting. To engage with them is exhausting. Let me tell you another characteristic of the pesky person. I don't know where they learn it. I don't know how they learn it. I don't know how they go about doing this. Excuse me. They systematically close down and close off the comments and the ideas and the motivating power of other people from even speaking up and participating. When you have a pesky person around, somehow, I'm not sure where they learn it. I'm not sure how they do it, Chef Betty. I'm really not sure how they do it. I don't know if it's inside of them or what. They systematically close off the access points of all the people that you need on the team. They just do that. It's like they lock the gates and the good people, the good ideas, the wonderful comments from other people that you need, that I need. They have a way of doing it. Have you ever seen a pesky person? Somebody raises their hand and they start giving an idea, and all of a sudden the pesky person does this. And that person who has a great idea, a great comment, just closes down, just shuts up. They're power shifters. They're exhausting to engage with. They systematically close off all the access points, all the comment points, all the ideas, all the wonderful imaginations of those that you need to speak up with. And then number 4, oh my goodness, they have this way of keeping the focus and the conversation and all the energy on what's wrong. They also keep it on themselves. They also keep it on the unknown base. One of the universal things that I've noticed about pesky people is simply this. They're always representing, when they come to us, a pesky person. They knock on our door. They stop us in the hallway. They stop us in between our POS sites. They stop us and they say, they've asked me to talk to you about something. Listen to me. Most of the time, there is no they. Anybody that has ever come to me for the last 25 or 30 years, when they say to me, they've asked me to talk to you, I say to them, well, hang on a second. Who are the they? Who are the they? Well, they don't want to be known. And then I will say, well, listen, I'll block out some time tomorrow and you get the they. And you bring the they here, and you and I and the group of they that you say you represent, I'll listen to them. Do you know what? Never once have the they even appeared. I've never met the they. Have you? Have you? If you've been in the principal place of influence for any length of time, it is my guess that you've never met the they either. The they, I don't think they exist. So, pesky people have this way. They just have this way of showing up and saying they represent they or them or those that for whatever reason can't speak up. Oh, and let me tell you another thing about pesky people. Pesky people, to get away with this, will tell you, well, you know, they think you're hard to get along with. They think you're difficult. They think you're one-minded. And they don't think they can talk to you, but they think that I have your heart and that I know how to talk to you. I'm just encouraging you. Move away from that meeting. Do not listen to the pesky person. Often what I've said, and if you've been to some of my workshops, you know I say this. This is one of the things I say. You can talk to me about that on the second Tuesday of next week. Yeah, I'll sit here. I'll be waiting for you on the second Tuesday of next week. And you know what? They look at me, they roll their eyes, they walk away. Number 5, the characteristic of pesky people is when pressure's on, a pesky person will tell you, I'll be different. I'll change if you just listen to me. And here's what you and I do. Good people, Tom, will think, oh my goodness, I have finally overcome the curve, the power struggle of pesky people. And you will relax and listen to me. Number 5, they always yield back to their historical nature, their historical behavior. Pesky people are difficult. They are difficult. And so, as I said, listening our way, we must negotiate the possibilities more or rather than problems, pressures, and pesky people. So how do we navigate possibilities? I think there's a couple of things. Let me just give you at least 3 before I make an announcement and I let you get to your supper, all right? Here's 3 things. I think the best way to negotiate possibilities is, as the principal influencer, you need to take a few moments every day with your door closed and just recenter yourself on the ultimate aim of what you're doing. If you are the lead at a school restaurant, your ultimate aim is to serve the students, not the teacher, not the principal, not USDA, not your supervisor. Your principal job is to serve the students and influence your staff to do the same. That means that when you walk out of there, you've got to have a big old grin on your face. You got to love what you do. You got to love what you do. Figure out what it is you do and look at the mission of your department. If you're the director, if you're a director here tonight, you serve the students at a distance. Who you serve is your staff. And you want to enable your staff to be able to face-to-face serve students. Wherever you're at, you got to do this once in a while. You got to sit down and contemplate your life's mission. What is your life's mission? And when you're getting ready to navigate possibilities, you got to think about this. And then you got to realize that somebody, an energy, I like to call it God, has your back much more than you imagine. And the possibilities are out there. The possibilities are out there. And you've got to embrace those possibilities. Navigate the possibilities more than the problems, the pressures, and the pesky people. Number three, write down your ideas and try them. Okay? Make a list of those things that worked, those things that didn't work. And as you begin to do this, you are going to become more and more familiar with that sense that you have of what brings the successful navigation of possibilities. Okay? Now, how can you get to the point? What's the greatest hindrance to really knowing what fulfills you? The greatest hindrance of all is you and I spending time at the bar, at our own bar. Bitterness, anger, and resentment. If you have even tiny portions of reoccurring bitterness, anger, and resentment in your relationships at home, in your relationships where you volunteer, in your relationships on the job, you self-hinder your ability to lock in on your fulfillment. Here's why. Because as you rub up against the intoxication that you have from your own bitterness, anger, and resentment, you can't help but your soul to focus on that. Your mind, your will, and your emotions will focus on that minefield of bitterness, anger, and resentment. That curvy road of bitterness, anger, and resentment. You have to deal with that. You have to get through that. You have to get over it. Now, getting over it does not involve going back and reliving it. It doesn't involve going back and talking to the people or what happened. It involves just finally letting it go. Letting it go. I call that forgiving. Okay? Now, forgiving is not giving a pardon to somebody. Forgiving is letting them off your hook, letting them out of the cage, let them walk free. You say, well, that's not fair that they get to go free. That's not fair. They don't really go free. You remember what I said earlier? Somebody bigger than you has your back. That's why you can navigate the possibilities. But as long as you're trying to deal with it, then it can't be dealt with. You got to let it go. And as soon as you really, truly let it go, then you can start nailing down what fulfills you. Then you can serve. Then you can go on. Okay? Now, so what have we talked about over the last 6 weeks? To listen our way to fulfillment, we've got to log out of all the other conversations before we can log in to being able to listen. We've got to learn how to invest in the speaker, that one-on-one conversation, that committee conversation, that board conversation, that audience conversation that you're having. You've got to invest in the speaker as though they have a treasure. Look for the treasure. Look for the ruby. Look and wait for the wonderful thing. And then serve them with your 100% participation, your 100% eyes and ears. If you need to type, I encourage you to turn your phone on, record what they're saying, look at them, listen to them. And then we have to triangulate the conversation. Yeah, talk about yourself a little bit. Listen to them, let them talk about themselves more than you. And then spend a lot of time talking about us. And then engage in thought-filled questions. Those kind of responses that demand sentences or paragraph answers. And then tonight we talked about navigating the possibilities that can turn into probabilities rather than the problems, the pressures, and pesky people. And I gave you the 5 characteristics of pesky people. If you want them later, if you will text me or email me, I will give them to you. You can text me at 916-708-8103, or you can email me at leap, L-E-A-P, at mattupton.net. Now, the announcement that I wanted to give to you before you go have supper, November 8th, before the conference, California School Nutrition Association's conference. If the technology gurus work with me, my very first issue of my podcast called Slices of Success will drop. It will be a 30-minute conversation. It will be available on all the outlets that you get podcasts from. And I'm looking forward to that. And you might ask, why 30 minutes? Why 30 minutes? Why don't you keep doing this? I'm not sure I'm not going to keep doing this. I'm not sure I'm going to keep doing this. Okay. What I am certain is the average American drives 30 minutes to work. And a podcast, you can listen to it on the way to work and then on the way home. You can do that. Also, if you work out, if you walk the top of Mount Rubidoux, you can listen to it on the way up. You can listen to it. Many other people will have the access to it, because in this medium, what happens is we have to sit here. In a podcast, you don't have to sit here. You can drive, you can walk, you can work out, you can lay down on your bed, and it can happen. And what it's going to be, many of them are going to be me doing the exact same kind of training that we're doing right now. And some of them are going to be interviews. In fact, I'm going to set some interviews when I'm in Ontario. Some of you that are here tonight are going to be asked to sit down with me and spend some time with me that I can talk with you and we can have a conversation. And then later it will become a podcast. All right? Listen, I'm Matt and I'm your friend. And I'm so looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to putting my hand on your cheek and my cheek on your cheek and just hugging you for a moment. Okay? I hope you have a great evening. You can always reach me through a text at 916-708-8103, or you can email me at leap@mattupton.net. And listen, you can go old school. You can call me as well. Okay? Hey, listen, have a great evening, and I'll see you soon.